When talking about racial discrimination, Lewis Gordon has a very good article called Existential Dynamics of Theorizing Black Invisibility, where he hits on points such as lack of black presence and their role as the inferior other, and how that actually plays a huge role in how they view themselves. In the article, a quote is taken from Alan Locke where he says, "The black intellectual is induced to see himself through the distorted perspective of a social problem," meaning that an African American will actually begin viewing themselves through the image that is given by the stereotype that we see every day. Later on in the article, an example that is given is that whites to blacks would say will be your mirror, meaning blacks can see themselves through how they're actually perceived by whites. And Gordon then speaks about how an inferior other is formed. However, we don't even define this inferior other by what we visually see, and instead we begin seeing just the color black instead of specific nationalities that fall under this blackness. We actually distort the color, turning all shades of brown into one conformed black. And with this anti-black racism that we have, we then turn everything he or she does into a product of that color, as black just being the reasoning for their actions. For example, Gordon says how his flesh becomes black flesh, his thoughts black thoughts, his presence a form of absence. This absence that he speaks of being white absence, absence of the superior self that whites have. And another interesting point that is made by Gordon is dealing with sadism and masochism in the Africana experience, where sadism, dealing with African Americans, Gordon says, isn't experienced the ordinary way, although it does deal with the same false reality and invisibility, considering that, according to Gordon, blacks live in a world where they have an absence of human presence. And because of this absence of human presence, where there's only a sense of white presence, blacks immediately retreat into the sense of trying not to appear at all, as is explained by Frantz Fanon, where he says, "I move slowly in the world, accustomed to aspiring no longer to appear. I proceed by crawling. Already the white looks, the only true looks, are dissecting me. I am fixed." And the statement even has a bit of masochism in it when he speaks of crawling, because his black body then becomes this limp, passive body who begins seeing himself as having no responsibility in his life, and instead gives up on it and just becomes an object that is controlled by the views of others. And because of this, he begins to have a false sense of reality that he tries living in, where he tries not to exist or be seen, because he already thinks that he has no freedom in his meaning or even his existence at all.